Hey everybody, Ryan here at Etrailer. Today on our 2013 GMC Acadia, we're going to be showing you how to install the Etrailer.com Class 3 2-inch trailer hitch receiver. But before we do that, why don't we check it out and make sure that this is going to be the right hitch for you. When it comes to the Acadia, you know, having a hitch on the back of it just makes sense. It looks right at home. And what it's going to do is kind of help open up your opportunities to do a lot of different things. You know, these SUVs are really capable and can accomplish a lot and get the job done. You know, with that said, they're really popular for family type vehicles. Makes sense, they're big and they can hold a lot inside. And so having a hitch back here is going to allow you to use different types of accessories. Let's say maybe you guys are out going biking, you can put a bike rack here. Maybe you're going on a trip, want to free up some extra space, you can use a cargo carrier. Or maybe if you're going to the campground or to the lake for the weekend, you can always pull your boat or your camper or your trailer behind you wherever you're going. One of the questions that we do get asked quite a bit is if you're still able to put the removable panel back in place once the hitch is on. Now, unfortunately, today, our customer left the panel at home. They took it off to make sure they didn't have a hitch in there in the first place. Probably a good idea to do that yourself, too. You know, you might be able to, you might get lucky and have a factory one back here. So definitely worth checking. But with that said, from my experience in the past, that panel can be reinstalled and give you a factory type look. You know, once that panel goes over, you're not even going to be able to see the hitch. And honestly, even with it gone, I still think it looks pretty good, honestly. It's going to sit a little further back and do a really good job of blending in. And honestly, the hitch's powder coating here, it's like a matte black carbide finish. It honestly almost looks identical to the color and texture of our rear bumper. So because of that finish, it almost kind of just blends in and looks like it's part of the car. Hitch is going to have a 2-inch by 2-inch receiver tube opening, so really common size. Ton of different things will work with it. At the end here, there's going to be a reinforced collar for some extra support. And the hitch is going to use that standard 5/8 pin. Keep in mind though, pin and clip do not come included. If you need one, not a huge deal, you can grab it here at Etrailer. We're going to have some plate style safety chain openings. They're a little on the smaller side, but that's all right because honestly, just about any size hook that we might have should still work without really giving us any issues. As far as the hitch's weight capacities go, it's going to have a 500-pound maximum gross tongue weight rating, and that's going to be the amount of weight that's pushing down on the hitch. So pretty high number, and you should be able to use just about any size bike rack or cargo carrier that you'd want to, for example. As far as the hitch's maximum gross trailer weight rating goes, that's going to be 5,000 pounds, and that's going to be the amount of weight that is pulling on the hitch. So the weight of your trailer plus anything that you might have on it. This can be used with a weight distribution system, which is a separate component. And what happens is whenever you use a weight distribution system, it's going to keep your trailer and your GMC nice and level whenever you're pulling it down the road. With that said, if you are using that, the weight capacities do go up a little bit. Maximum gross tongue weight rating goes up to 600, and the trailer weight rating will go up to 6,000 pounds. Keep in mind though, never a bad idea just to grab your GMC's owner's manual. That way you can make sure your Acadia can pull that much weight safely. And with all that said, when you're pulling a trailer, you do want the lights to work. You know, that way people around you will know what's going on and you'll be safe and legal. And to accomplish that, you can always grab some trailer wiring. Let's go ahead now and take a couple of measurements. That way we can try to figure out which hitch mounted accessories will work best. If you go from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, that's going to be about 19 inches. So if you plan on towing, chances are pretty good. You can use a ball mount that has a straight shank or one that potentially even has a slight drop in the shank. If you go from the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of our rear bumper, that's going to be about 6 inches. And you can use that measurement to figure out exactly if any of those folding accessories you might have can be stored in that upright position without hitting the back of your bumper. Just to kind of compare this hitch to a couple of the other ones, you know, the Etrailer one that we have here compared to the Curt hitch, essentially they're very, very similar, not a ton of differences there. The one that's most notable is just the appearance of it. The finish of the Curt hitch is going to have kind of a gloss black finish. You know, that's really just going to boil down to your personal preference. I'm kind of partial to the matte black one, but again, that's going to be completely up to you, what you like better. And then compared to the Draw Tight, you know, the Draw Tight, in my opinion, is more geared for towing. That's not to say it won't work for accessories and things like that, though. But I say that because it does have some higher weight capacities, and it also has a bracket that's already attached to it, so you can hook up your trailer wiring a little bit easier, give you a spot to mount it. With that said, though, not a huge game changer. There's brackets, all different types of them available that you can use for the Etrailer and the Curt one as well. So at the end of the day, it's really just going to come down to what you're looking for and what you like the best. Now, as far as the installation goes, it's really not too bad, actually. I know in the past I've ran into some issues with the attachment points, the factory attachment points being really rusty, and it sounds like many of you at home have ran into that as well. And I'll give you a couple pointers along the way and the tool that you can use to overcome that if that's something you run into. So as long as you stay focused, really shouldn't give you a ton of issues. But speaking of the installation, why don't we go ahead, pull into the garage, and put the hitch on together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here underneath the back of our Acadia, and we're going to need to lower our exhaust some. That way we can have the space that we need to work. Before we do that, we want to make sure to support the exhaust. That way we can kind of control how fast and how far we let it down. I'm just going to use a strap and run it from side to side. If you're working, you know, at home on the ground, you may not even need to bother with the strap. A lot of times you can just use a block of wood or something like that to help keep this from coming completely down. So to get the exhaust lowered on each one of our mufflers, we're going to have 2 rubber isolator hangers, and we're going to need to remove those. So you can spray it down with some penetrating oil or soapy water. Take a pry bar or a big screwdriver and work one end of that hanger. We'll go to the other side of our vehicle, get the other ones removed. And I want to mention from this point on, anything we do to one side of our vehicle, we're also going to do to the other side, so it'll be set up the same way. So with both sides of our mufflers released, we can loosen up the strap a little bit, lower it down some. And I also forgot to mention, if you have this little access panel here, go ahead and remove that. In our case, ours is just missing, but if yours is here, go ahead and pop that out. There's usually just some twist type fasteners or some plastic type fasteners that you can pull out, and this will simply just pop right out. Now what we're going to need to do is prepare our attachment points on the bottom of our frame rail. And so there's going to be 2 threaded weld nuts, one here and one here. And we want to make sure these are nice and clean, so you can spray them out with some penetrating oil. Take a brush like this and just work any gunk that may be in there. And a lot of times these are actually in decent shape, but a lot of times they can be really rusty in there. And so what you want to do is take one of the included bolts with your hitch and just see if they thread in there easily. This one's not too bad. If they go in with relative ease, you're in pretty good shape. If not, you may need to clean out the threads. And what you can do is take what's called a tap, and this essentially just kind of recuts the threads almost, makes it almost like new. And you're going to take this and you can take the tool and work that in and out, and essentially, like I said, make those new threads. And like I said, it's pretty common to have to do that on these. We do sell a kit here that'll give you this correct one. It's an M12 by 1.75. And like I said, you're just going to take that, work it up. There'll be a tool here with a handle on it. You can spin that up in there. In our case, I think we'll be in pretty good shape. And so I think we'll be good to go. Now we can come to the center of our bumper beam, and we're going to have two attachment points, one here and one here. There's a couple different ways this can be set up. Ours has just some open holes, so we're going to be using a fishwire technique to get our hardware in. If yours is a weld nut in there, make sure it's clean, you know, just like we did the other ones. And instead of the hardware combination that we're going to use to get in there and fishwire through, you're just going to use a bolt and a conical tooth washer, and that'll thread up in there. But that's not our particular situation, so we're going to do it this way. You're going to take the coiled end of the fishwire, put it through that hole, then you're going to push it towards the outside of our vehicle. And what's going to happen, what we're trying to do is get that fishwire to come out the end of our bumper beam. So just like that. Once we have it like that, you're going to take a spacer block, put that over, and a carriage bolt. All right, so that carriage bolt will thread on. And you can feed the hardware inside of that beam. Pull down on our fish wire until we get it to drop through like that. So before we put our hitch up into place, I just want to go over the hardware combination that we're going to use on our frame rails. We're just going to take a bolt and a conical tooth washer, put the washer over, and you want the teeth to face like this. So you want it to face up towards the hitch. So when we're holding our hitch up, it's going to go through the hitch and thread into the frame rail. Now what we can do is grab our hitch and get it up into position. We're going to take our pull wires here and feed them through the corresponding holes in the hitch. I can manage to get this one through here. Let's go ahead and lift it up. Lined up. And once we have it close, we can come over here, take our hardware combination, and we want to get at least one bolt started on each side, hand tight. That way the hitch will support itself. We get our remaining hardware in. So that's what the ones on the side look like. And then if you come towards the center here, what you're going to do is remove your pull wire, and you're going to take a flange nut and get that started. Sometimes if you're having a hard time getting the nut started, you can reach up through here and put a little side pressure on that spacer block. That'll kind of hold that bolt a little more steady and make it easier to get going. With all the hardware in place and hand tight, we'll come back with a 3/4 inch or 19 millimeter socket and snug everything down. Now we need to make sure and come back with a torque wrench and tighten down all the hardware to the amount specified in the instructions. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can grab one here at Etrailer, or a lot of times you can go to your local auto parts stores and they'll have one there available to rent. So now with the hitch all done, come back and rehang our exhaust. So this time you can just lubricate it, and you know, you can get these back on by hand. Get everything lined up and slid back on. And once the exhaust is supporting itself again, go ahead and remove our strip. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Etrailer.com Class 3 2-inch trailer hitch receiver on our 2013 GMC Acadia.